Have you ever heard of a case so bizarre it sounds like it's straight out of a movie? Well, buckle up, because today we are re-diving into a real-life mystery that baffled investigators. It ended with a jaw-dropping twist in the courtroom that nobody saw coming. This is the story of a seemingly straightforward case that unraveled into a complex web of secrets and lies. It all started in a quiet, ordinary town where life was predictable. But one morning, that peace was shattered. A prominent local businessman was found dead in his home office. At first glance, it looked like a robbery gone wrong. The room was in disarray, a window was broken, and a valuable painting was missing. The police immediately launched a full-scale investigation, treating it as a homicide. The victim, let's call him Mr. Harrison, was well known and generally liked. He was a self-made millionaire, a pillar of the community, and a family man. The initial shock sent ripples through the town. Who would want to harm such a respected figure? Pressure was on for the detectives to find answers and fast. The first few days of the investigation were a whirlwind of activity. Forensics teams combed the crime scene for any shred of evidence: fingerprints, footprints, stray fibers, anything. Detectives began interviewing everyone who knew Mr. Harrison: his family, his business partners, his employees, and his friends. They were trying to build a picture of his life, looking for any cracks in the perfect facade. The family, naturally, was devastated. His wife was inconsolable, and his 2 adult children were in shock. They told detectives that Mr. Harrison was a loving husband and father with no known enemies. His business partner described him as a sharp but fair businessman. Everyone painted a picture of a man who had everything to live for. But as any good detective knows, a picture-perfect life often hides the deepest secrets. The first lead came from an anonymous tip. A caller claimed to have seen a suspicious vehicle parked near the Harrison residence on the night of the murder. This was the break the police needed. They tracked down the vehicle's owner, a small-time criminal with a history of petty theft. When they brought him in for questioning, he was nervous, and his story kept changing. It seemed like the case was about to be solved. The man eventually confessed to breaking into the house to steal the painting, but he swore he didn't kill anyone. He claimed Mr. Harrison was already dead when he arrived. He said he panicked, grabbed the painting, and ran. It was a convenient story, almost too convenient. The police were skeptical. They had their man, a known criminal, at the scene of the crime. The district attorney felt confident they could secure a conviction. The case seemed closed. But one detective on the team, a seasoned veteran named Detective Miller, had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. The criminal's story, while self-serving, had a ring of truth to it. And some details from the crime scene just didn't add up. For instance, the broken window. The glass was found on the outside of the house, suggesting it was broken from the inside. Why would a burglar break a window from the inside to get out? Miller decided to dig deeper, even though his superiors told him to wrap it up. He went back to the beginning, re-examining every piece of evidence, every statement. He spent hours poring over Mr. Harrison's financial records, and that's where he found the first real crack in the victim's perfect life. Mr. Harrison's successful business was on the verge of bankruptcy. He was millions of dollars in debt, and he had been hiding it from everyone, including his family. This discovery changed everything. The motive was no longer just a simple robbery. Money was at the center of the puzzle. Who stood to gain from Mr. Harrison's death? The obvious answer was his family, who would inherit his life insurance policy, a policy worth a substantial amount of money. Miller started looking at the family again, not as grieving relatives, but as potential suspects. He re-interviewed the wife, the son, and the daughter. Their stories remained consistent, but Miller noticed subtle hesitations, glances exchanged between them that spoke volumes. He felt he was getting closer, but he still lacked the concrete proof needed to challenge the official narrative. The trial of the petty thief began. The prosecution laid out a strong case. They had a confession, albeit a partial one, and a suspect with a criminal record. It looked like an open and shut case. The defense attorney argued his client was just a scapegoat, an unlucky opportunist who stumbled into a murder scene. But without an alternative theory, the jury was likely to convict. Detective Miller knew time was running out. He worked around the clock, chasing down a hunch. He focused on the business partner, the one who had described Mr. Harrison as a fair man. Miller discovered that the partner had recently taken out a massive loan against the business, without Mr. Harrison's knowledge. And where did that money go? It was funneled into a series of offshore accounts. The pieces started clicking into place. Mr. Harrison had discovered his partner's embezzlement. They must have had a confrontation. This provided a powerful motive. Miller now had a new, much more plausible suspect. But he needed to connect the partner to the actual crime scene. He went back to the forensic evidence one last time. He remembered something that had seemed insignificant at the time. A small, unusual scuff mark on the floor near the victim's desk. It didn't match the thief's shoes nor the family's. On a long shot, Miller obtained a warrant to search the business partner's home and office, specifically looking for his shoes. And there it was. A pair of expensive, custom-made leather shoes with a unique sole pattern that matched the scuff mark perfectly. This was the physical evidence Miller needed, the link that tied the partner directly to the scene of the crime. He raced to the courthouse. The trial was in its final stages. The defense was giving its closing argument. Miller burst into the courtroom, a breach of protocol, but he didn't care. He handed the file to the prosecutor. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor looked at the new evidence. A hushed and urgent conference with the judge followed. The judge called a recess. When they returned, the atmosphere was electric. The prosecutor announced they were dropping all charges against the thief. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Then he announced that the state was bringing new charges. He turned and pointed directly at Mr. Harrison's business partner, who was sitting in the gallery, watching the proceedings. The revelation was stunning. The partner's face went pale. He had believed he had committed the perfect crime, framing an unlucky thief while he watched from the sidelines. The ensuing investigation unraveled his entire scheme. He had killed Mr. Harrison during a heated argument after being confronted about the embezzlement. He then staged the scene to look like a robbery, even breaking the window from the inside to sell the story. A crucial mistake. He had planned everything, except for one persistent detective who refused to accept the easy answer. The business partner was swiftly convicted, and the wrongly accused thief was set free. It was a story of incredible police work, a testament to the importance of following your instincts and questioning everything. A case that seemed so simple on the surface turned out to be a complex tale of greed, betrayal, and a last-minute courtroom bombshell that delivered justice in the most dramatic way possible. It just goes to show, the truth is often stranger and more complex than fiction. And subscribe so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.